This is episode 3 of 5 Puppy Podcasts with Karen Wilde. Visit weaway.co.uk. Hello everybody, this is John Buskell here, and we've got this week for you another of our special puppy podcasts with Karen. This week, Karen's talking about puppy socialization.
This podcast is all about socialization for your puppy. Socialization is absolutely critical for every puppy and every dog. It's put under a big header, but actually all it means is that your puppy learns to deal with everyday life. It learns to deal with all the dogs that it's going to meet, people and things all around it. It doesn't necessarily mean that your puppy is going to have the greatest time every single time you go out. What it should mean, though, is that your puppy learns a mechanism by which they can cope with new things and surprising things that happen to them. So really, socialization covers two areas. It covers allowing puppies to meet other puppies and dogs, and so developing their social skills. Often I see older dogs that really haven't had this opportunity, and they don't know how to behave around other dogs. This means that they act in an almost Tarzan-like fashion, diving in, playing too rough and getting told off for their troubles. Sometimes it's their owners that tell them off, but often it's the other dogs that just don't want to play with the puppy that plays too roughly. It's really, really easy to bypass the socialization period for puppies, so it's something that you absolutely need to do from the minute your puppy comes home. The other part of socialization is getting your puppy used to everyday things. Now, this isn't just people and things around them. It's things to do with the household, vacuum cleaners, for example, fridges, the noises that the appliances make in your home. It also covers things like traffic, so that the puppy learns to deal with large lorries, bicycles, and all of the things that might suddenly whoosh past it while it's out and about. People is an important aspect, of course. All sorts of different people are what your puppy's going to meet throughout his life, his or her life. And also children. Children, young adults, older people, all behave and move slightly differently and all look slightly different. So your puppy really needs to learn that everything is not a threat, that there are only normal things around it all the time. The best time to socialise your puppy is between anything from the minute you get it home up to around about 12 weeks and then on from there. There are crucial stages in a puppy's development, and normally if you get a puppy who's around 8 weeks of age, then this is a very important time for them to learn this bounce back principle. The bounce back principle is that if a puppy has an upsetting event, as long as it wasn't absolutely terrified, that's slightly different, but something that's just enough stress to make them wonder what's going on, but then get over it. They learn that things that are new and unfamiliar are not necessarily threatening. It's very easy to compare your own dog with someone else's, where you look at a dog that is afraid to be approached, it barks at things it doesn't understand, it's actually quite a nervy dog. That's not a very nice pet dog, and often you do see rescue dogs that have been shut away and they've not been socialised properly in their early life. Perhaps the dog wasn't properly house trained and ended up being shut in the garden for long periods. It's very common. You then have a task to re-socialise that dog, because what it means is that the dog hasn't learned at an early age to deal with all these different things that it's going to come across in life. It also means that the poor dog is going to spend a great deal of its time in a very stressed state, and that's a really unpleasant life for the dog. So, how can we socialise our puppies? Of course, at first, the puppies don't have their vaccinations, and you need to go on your vet's advice as to when your vaccinations course is complete. Nevertheless, it might be that you didn't get your puppy until they were a little bit older. Even though it's only a matter of weeks to us, it's crucial time lost for a puppy. So if you're trying to get your puppy to do all these things by the time they're 12 weeks old, you're then going to have to carry it on after that, of course. But you only have this very small window of opportunity. There are puppy parties at some vets where the puppies can be allowed to go after their first set of vaccinations, not necessarily waiting for their second. So do look around and find a vet that provides these for your puppy. And if they don't, they might be able to suggest somewhere where you can take your puppy for this crucial socialising experience. As well as this, there are other things that you can do, because a party is only once a week if you're lucky, and then by that time your puppy is really too old. So you need to take responsibility as an owner to help your puppy become really well socialised. You might need to carry your puppy and carry them down the road so that they don't go on the floor and catch any diseases, but that's okay. You've taken on a big commitment, so you need to start putting in the work, I'm afraid. It's fun, but it is a lot of effort when they're very young. But the benefits are huge. So let's have a few suggestions. First of all, you could invite all your friends over so that your puppy meets a lot of different people. Encourage them to bring their children as well. Get them to dress up, if you like, in fake beards, big hats, carry umbrellas, wear sunglasses, walk on crutches, wheelchairs, anything that you think your puppy is going to come across in life, you can bring to the party. But you must make sure the puppy has plenty of time to rest. So maybe half an hour to 40 minutes is plenty for a young pup. Give them a chance for a nap and then do the same thing again. Try and do something like this as often as possible. And make sure you take the puppy out and do similar things. I'm a big fan of handing my puppy around to people in the street. I have been known to approach community police officers to go over and just sort of ask them if they will hold my puppy, because they are wearing hats, uniform, high visibility jacket, and of course they're a stranger to the puppy. So I tend to ask them if they'll just hold my puppy so that my puppy can get used to them. And if they're nice, and usually they are, they will say that's fine. Always take some delicious treats with you as well, so that puppy, if they do get a little bit unsettled, you can offer them something to eat. And if they actually want to eat the treat, then they're probably okay. If they're so stressed that they're not interested in eating, that's your cue to perhaps take them back to, back home, or maybe go and sit in the car with them for a few minutes so that they can calm down. Please, please never leave your puppy in the car. Apart from the obvious risk of theft, it's very common that dogs of all ages can overheat in a closed car, even on a winter day, even on an overcast day. So the other thing I've mentioned is the car. Now, often puppies get car sick, and sometimes the first experience of them going in a car, unless you've got a really good breeder, is when you actually bring them home. So try and take your puppy on short car journeys to get them used to travelling. Don't allow them to roll around in the back seat or in the back of the car. Give them somewhere secure where they can lie down, brace themselves against corners, and give them something nice to do. I used to take the most smelliest chews with me for my dogs when I used to take them out when they were young. It wasn't very nice for me driving the car, but the dogs thought it was a wonderful trip. It's really important that you make sure you introduce your puppy regularly to people who come to your house on a daily basis. Encourage your puppy to make friends with the milkman, the postman, the paper delivery, everybody who actually visits your house, because what we really want is a dog that feels comfortable with people approaching the house. Certain breeds are more likely to guard property or guard boundaries than others, but it doesn't mean to say that they all won't bark at somebody coming to the door at some point. So let's have it so that they're barking with excitement rather than fear, or preferably not barking at all. Your postman will thank you for it, trust me. You can also do things to the actual puppy so that they get used to being examined by people. Your puppy's going to be alive a long time, and that's going to mean regular visits to the vet, or probably the groomer, or just being stroked by people. A lot of people want to stroke a dog, even when the dog doesn't necessarily want it to happen. So your puppy does need to get used to this kind of thing, the sort of weird behaviours that humans do that dogs don't really do to each other. Get a handful of treats and take them and put them on your puppy's nose. Start examining your puppy's eyes, their ears, their feet and their mouth, and make this part of your daily routine so that you can spot any problems early on. That's not just health problems, of course. If you're able to examine your puppy all over regularly, you're going to be ahead of the game when it comes to any problems that might develop. Grass seeds might get caught in eyes and ears and feet, for example. So once you start examining your puppy, it's very easy to keep that going. But it also makes it a far easier job for your vet to examine the puppy in the future, or your groomer, or anyone else who's looking after your puppy. So really you are putting in a huge investment into their future life. Countless vets I know deal with dogs that really aren't comfortable being there, because often by the time the dog goes to the vet, it's actually poorly or in pain. It's really important that you get the dog used to being examined when it's not in pain, so that when it's in pain as well, it actually tolerates the examination a lot better. I saw a wonderful puppy the other day who has severe hip dysplasia, and because the owners have actually made a big effort to examine it all the time anyway, now that the dysplasia has become apparent, they didn't realise it at the time unfortunately, the vet could pretty much do anything to the dog, waggle its legs about and everything, and the puppy thought it was marvellous. Introduce your puppy to common household appliances. Now, things like the vacuum cleaner, the lawnmower and the washing machine can be really terrifying. They're really loud. Puppies and dogs can hear much, much higher pitch than we can, so we don't hear a lot of the really whistling noises. You'll sometimes recognise that from the older televisions that used to sing. Imagine that all the time. If a puppy's been brought up in a not very responsible breeding environment, then it might be that they've never heard anything like that before. Probably not the best choice of puppy, but if you have a puppy that's reactive to things like this, you need to introduce them gradually. So don't plonk them on the floor and zoom the hoover backwards and forwards, because that's really going to frighten them. And also hoovers smell very strong and blow out air, so they could be quite threatening. With regard to the lawnmower, of course there's a danger aspect as well. So my advice to you is just carry on doing things as normal while the puppy is around doing something nice. So if you know you're going to be hoovering the floor, give your puppy something nice to chew on nearby, but not even in the same room. And don't suddenly turn the machine on right next to them, because of course that's going to make them jump. Try and make all of these suggestions into a game so that your puppy enjoys the experiences. Now, what to do if your puppy is actually quite nervous of things? So you might find that your puppy is what we call bomb-proof, doesn't seem to be bothered by anything. That's great. But if you find that your puppy isn't like that, and let's face it, there's always going to be something new that they might not be too sure about, what do you do about that? First of all, make a note of what it is they weren't very keen on. I do provide a socialization chart for my clients, so they can actually tick off progress as they go along. If there's a hotspot area, they put a red dot or a cross so that they can actually tell this time the puppy didn't do so well on this experience. If you're there in the middle of it, by all means remove your puppy from the place. At this point you can pick them up. I know that people say you're not supposed to pick up your dogs, but quite honestly, if your puppy is stressed and worried, you need to get them away from there for a little while to allow them to collect themselves, and then introduce them back to it at a point when they're a lot calmer. So if picking them up is what you need to do, then do it. It's rare that you're going to teach your puppy to seek to be picked up unless you do it all the time for wrong reasons. So, by all means, save your puppy's feelings, get them out of the way, and then you can deal with the problem later on. So say, for example, your puppy has met somebody who's wearing a hat and the puppy has spooked. Now, signs of that would be the puppy might bark, it might jump back, and it certainly would stare with its eyes fixed on the thing that it was finding worrying. So remove your puppy from the area, grab your treats, give your puppy something to offer them something tasty to eat. If they eat, that's a good sign, like I said. If they won't eat, then they're quite stressed. So try and distract them and give them something to calm them down. Perhaps give them a little game or let them just sit quietly for a minute. Then decide that that was actually something they didn't like. Make a note of it. And if you can, reintroduce them to it fairly soon. Wait until they're properly calm, of course, and don't plonk them straight on the person's lap if it's that kind of problem. But just kind of take them near it, give them some food, and then take them away. And then take them near it again, and maybe give them another bit of food, and then take them away. And always allow your puppy to explore. If your puppy's exploring and moving away, but they're actually getting closer, then that's good, because it means the puppy is learning to approach things warily, but without causing any problems by barking or snapping to try and make the thing go away. The very last thing we want to teach our puppy is snapping or biting makes unfamiliar things go away, because that is something they will remember as a very good tactic for the rest of their lives. So try and avoid putting too much pressure on them. Socialization should be fun, it's essential, Don't scrimp on it. Make sure you set a timetable and make sure you stick to it. It doesn't mean to say, though, that when you get to 12 weeks of age with your puppy, that you can then forget about it. The charts that I put together run from the minute you get the puppy right up until they're at least 2 years of age, because dogs do forget experiences. And when they're little, it's easy to take them out. When they're older, we tend to get back into our routine and they only go out in their normal routine. So the next time we take them somewhere new, of course, the puppy or the older dog is acting fearfully again. So try and put these methods in place. Insure yourself and your dog against fearful behaviour. Make sure that they are a bomb-proof dog that you can take anywhere, because you know that they are not going to be frightened by anything, because you put in place proper puppy socialization. If you'd like to read more about my work or want to know more about how to help your puppy, please visit my website www.karenwild.co.uk. You can either get online advice from there through IntelliDogs, or you can arrange for a consultation with me.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that just like I did. If you have any comments or questions, do get in touch with Karen on twitter.com/wildpaw. And you can also visit her website at intellidogs.com. weaway.co.uk.